Good evening, everyone. At this time, I would like to call the City of Bowie regular City Council meeting of Monday, May 6, 2024, in council chambers to order. It is now 8:01 p.m., and I would ask everyone to please stand if you can and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I would look to the city clerks, yes, to make sure that we have a quorum.
Yes, Mayor, we do have a quorum tonight. Present in chambers, we have Councilmember Stev, Councilmember Rogers, Mayor Pro Tem Wolfley, Mayor Adams, Councilmember Brady, and Councilmember Truesdale.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I will ask my colleagues if there are any agenda additions, deletions, or amendments. Hearing none, I'll move on to citizen participation. Thank you. Francisco Cartagena.
Afternoon.
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and council members, residents of the City of Bowie. My name is Francisco Cartagena, and I serve as a program manager for the Maryland Women's Business Center at Bowie State University. Thank you for the valuable insights shared during the budget work session on May 1st. The Maryland Women's Business Center is dedicated to furthering the growth of our local economy through the Maryland Women's Business Center Shop Local and Retail Incubator Program. This initiative is designed specifically to support local retail and product-based businesses, which are vital to the economic and social fabric of our community. By fostering a diverse ecosystem of local retailers, the Maryland Women's Business Center Shop Local program not only enhances economic vitality, but also solidifies our community's identity and resilience. We are eager to work closely with the council and the city staff to prepare a detailed presentation that highlights the tangible benefits of the Maryland Women's Business Center Shop Local program. We aim to demonstrate how this initiative can serve as a cornerstone for economic development and community well-being. We look forward to the opportunity of collaborating and making a significant and positive impact together. And before I go, when we did our initial presentation, Councilmember Steve asked me at the time I was fairly new in the role, which businesses we have in the City of Bowie. So I just want to name really three quick ones. We have a mobile family primary care business. We have a marketing agency, a skincare studio, event planner. And my personal favorite, we have a publisher who wants to open the first Black-owned, published-owned bookstore in the United States. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. At this time, we will move to presentations. And I will turn to my esteemed colleagues and to, is Lori going to handle this, or are you, Councilman Truesdale?
I'll take care.
Do we want to proceed right now, or?
Yes, please.
Okay.
That's fine. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Hello, Bowie residents, all the constituents. We all are aware of the recent fires that impact our Bowie families not too long ago. We felt as a council, the mayor and the council felt that it was important for these families to be offered some support. I reached out to our newest tenant in the Bowie Town Center, and they answered the call. Regency Furniture has shown their commitment to the community before they even opened the doors. So I would like to ask Troy Davis to come up. And is Tamika? Oh, there she go. I'm looking at that. If you can come up, please, appreciate it. In addition to Regency Furniture, our employees and residents also wanted to provide support for the neighborhoods with gift cards. And as you see, Regency Furniture is donating $17,000 1,500 in terms of with gift cards, along with residents that has also donated donations. And the mayor, thank you so much, and SATEC for donating gift certificates as well. And can we give Troy Davis a hand, and the Bowie residents as well?
Yeah.
So this never happened if we don't take a picture. So if we can take a picture with the
Okay, let's go ahead and take a photo.
Families can go to the lobby. The families can go to the lobby, and we have gift cards waiting for you. Thanks again. God bless.
Do we have any city boards in this evening?
No, Mayor, we do not.
Okay, thank you. Council announcements. I will open it up to my colleagues if they have any council announcements this evening. We do not. We will move on to the city manager's report.
I apologize.
We will backtrack on that for one moment and let Councilmember Steve go
Sorry,
right ahead.
Mr. Mayor Adams, I appreciate it. I just want to say a big thank you to staff for all your efforts. I've been keeping you guys extra busy this spring with resident requests, in particular a cat problem on 4th Street in Old Bowie. I heard from a group of residents we've been working with today, and they asked me to pass along their appreciation for all the work that you guys have done. Volunteers are out, we've gotten some cats captured through the TNR grant that we have, and those folks just asked me to please say thank you on their behalf for your continued good efforts. They did say there's a lot of cats left, so they're not giving up quite yet. I'm going to be getting more emails, but they just wanted to acknowledge your work and going above and beyond to help out.
Thank you, sir. I'll pass it on.
City manager's report.
Well, Mr. Mayor, City Council and residents out there in Bowie, we're primarily working hard to get this budget ready for the 20th so we can pass that and move forward. We're looking forward to tonight's second public hearing associated with the budget, and of course, the budget work session on next Monday, which is work session number 5 for us, so we can drill down into the planning and sustainability and IT components of our budget. And so other than that, sir, we are seamlessly delivering our services otherwise. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, City Manager. At this time, we will move on to the consent agenda. I am open to any motions at this time.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to approve the consent agenda.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Opposed, same favor. Hearing none, motion carries. We will now move on to old business, which is the fiscal year 2025 budget, the CIP, and real property tax rate. I will turn this over to staff at this time.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Matthews will take charge of this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lott. Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
We are here today to have our second public hearing. And as you know, in past years, we would also be doing the constant tax yield. I'm here this evening with my assistant, Lola Ogumredemi, and she was going to give you an update on the current budget changes thus far.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. I'll be going over the tentative changes to the proposed FY 2025 budget for the work sessions we've had through May 1st, 2024. Starting with the general fund, we have a decrease in the transfer to the capital project fund of $1,108,200. We have an increase to the solid waste disposal fee expenditure of $6,000. We also have an increase in the streets department for striping and marking in the repair and maintenance budget for that department for $100,000. We also have an increase to the city manager's office, part-time salaries for $25,100. We have an increase to the city council travel and training budget for $4,600. And we have a decrease in the use of the appropriated fund balance for $972,500. This brings the total change in the general fund to a decrease of $972,500. Moving on to the capital project fund, we have an increase in the appropriated fund balance for the Centennial Park on the revenue side for $150,000. We also have a corresponding increase to the Centennial Park for $150,000 on the expenditure side. We have a decrease in the use of the appropriated fund balance for the Bowie Railroad Museum for $90,000, which also corresponds to the increase in the state grant from the Maryland Heritage Area Authority for $90,000 in revenues. Also, we have an increase in federal grants for the Allen Point Park for $1,500,000 and a decrease in the transfer from the general fund for Allen Point Park for $1,108,200. We also show a decrease in the use of the appropriated fund balance for Allen Point Park for $391,800. And we have an increase to the racetrack road property expenditures for $450,000, which also corresponds to an increase to the state grant revenue for the racetrack road property for $450,000. This brings the total change for the capital project fund as an increase of $600,000. And that concludes the tentative changes to the proposed FY 2025 budget as of May 1, 2024. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, we do have someone signed up for the public hearing tonight, if we wanted to do that. No. The public hearing, we have one person signed up.
First need to open it, but okay. There we go. Is there anything else you'd like to add before I open the public hearing?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there is one thing I'd like to add to this meeting. With the recent change in the calculation from the state for the ongoing tax rate for FY '25, the meeting that we normally would have during this time would deal with the tax, the constant tax yield, which you know is a calculation of the taxes for the upcoming year that would be similar to the taxes earned in the current year. That's no longer part of the calculation for the tax rate. Under the new methodology for the state, if the city is going to maintain or reduce the tax rate in any particular year, there's no need for a public hearing. But if we're going to increase the tax rate, the city would have to have a public hearing.
Okay,
And that's the end of my presentation.
thank you. Having nothing further, at this time, I would call the public hearing open, and we do have a speaker, Connie Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
And if you could pull it down, make sure we
You think I need to pull it down? Am I that short?
Thank you.
That's okay. Thank you, and good evening to the council members. I really didn't want to be here. I personally don't want to be discussing this, but obviously it needs to be discussed because things are happening and we need to address them. And one of the things is proposed ice rink where on top of the golf course, part of the golf course property. We had a stakeholders meeting, 3 of them evidently. I only heard about the last one. There are a few points that I brought up, but I don't believe the public was aware of them. I have a list here of 27 issues, suggestions, comments. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I will leave the list with you. I'm going to go over a few different ones that I think are most important. The first one is the ice rink that we're going to have is one that we probably, could use, yes, but we didn't need to lose $10 million. The residents did not need to lose $10 million because the Church Road one was scratched. I don't know which ones who started it on the council. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But there are already footings in there. There's partly stuff in there, and now we're leaving it. $10 million that we could have had. I would like to know also, they evaluated the property on Church Road. They went to build it, and then they scratched it. Now they've done an evaluation on the property on the golf course across from Rockledge Elementary School. How do we know that's not going to be scratched? If the evaluation on Church Road didn't come through, didn't do something, now we've got another evaluation. What's going on? Why? We need to get this straight. And the most important thing that I think is that you're treading on a very serious area, North Bowie. We have a lot of traffic coming in there every day. You may not know it, but we people and Rockledge section know it because we see it, we feel it, we burn every time we try to get out onto 197. We have Rockledge Elementary School. We have the golf course. Sounds simple. Then you don't have the Bowie University. Believe it or not, Bowie University comes through there all the time. Oh, wait a minute, and you have that new school that's coming on Rustic Hill Drive. That's replaced the Montessori property. There's more property, that's more tax, that's more traffic. And wait a minute, one more thing. We have a big farm off of 197. This was a horse farm. And now it's going to be built a major housing development. What do you think is going to happen now? Oh, wait a minute, you didn't include the Rockledge Elementary, the Rockledge residents. We sit at the stop sign at the Rustic Hill Drive and Rockledge Elementary School, waiting to get out because we have no way of getting out. There's a little stop sign there, but the people speeding on 197 don't care about the stop sign that we have to wait on. There's no traffic light there. We've asked for that. We've asked for calming humps. We haven't gotten them. So what is going on with the fact that we have an ice rink presently at Allen Pond? I'm told renovation will cost more than rebuilding. Well, we lost $10 million. What's another $10 million we could lose? I don't understand why we aren't looking at this money and traffic problem a lot more seriously. The old racetrack we could have done. We could have used that. I don't know how much we used, but there's other properties that we could have used. Then, what is this new ice rink going to do with our taxes? We just heard. Do we have another tax increase coming if we have a new ice rink? Or is that going to give us new taxes? This is not quite, it doesn't seem like it's been really looked at close enough. And then the property values. What's it going to do to our property values? I don't understand. We've got a family living right next to where the proposed ice rink is going to be. She is very concerned because the cars coming on to her property to park or whatever. I'm not even sure about what's going on there, but I know that there's too many people worried about what's going on. And I think that you guys really need to take a look. I think that this should be called off, maybe gone back to Church Road, looked at that. I think that somebody said it's out of the way. Well, good. Then you don't have people parking all over the place. You've got a nice space that the people can park and go do ice skating. And we have, going back to the proposed ice rink, we have a renovation, an upgrade we hear. What's the upgrade going to be? Is it going to bring in traffic from Bowie only? Or is it going to have traffic from PG County? Or is it going to have traffic from all of Maryland? That's going to be more traffic. And so what are we going to do? Guys, lady, you're great people, but you really need to look this over. This is not fun, especially when you lose $10 million. It burns a hole in my pocket because I have to pay it. Thank you. Not the $10 million, just my part of the taxes. Thank you very much.
At this time, John Kogut.
Yes, I just had a brief comment, recommendation on all the budget information that we just received. Clearly, it's good. We need to see it in the information, and the information is probably in documents somewhere. But in this context, I think it would be very useful, in addition to providing just the raw numbers, increase or decrease, if you could provide the percentage that represents, because that would actually let us know whether the decrease is big or small, or provide some context as to whether you're making big changes or small changes. That's all I really had to say.
Thank you. Seeing there are no other comments at this time, I'm going to declare the public hearing closed. And at this time, this is eligible for action if we choose to at this time. I'm open to a motion.
Can I ask a question of staff, Mr.
Sure,
Mayor, real
go
quick?
right ahead.
Yeah, so sorry. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I see Mr. Meinert in the corner. Sorry. I apologize, Mr. Meinert. I just wanted to ask, as it relates specifically to the capital fund change, the decrease of $90,000 for use of appropriated fund balance for the Bowie Railroad Museum, can staff just update me on why this particular change? And, oh, sorry, this is a Mr. Matthews question. I apologize. I'm going to bring Mr. Meinert right back, though, don't worry.
The decrease, if you look on the sheet that we provided to you, you will see that the original appropriation for the Railroad Museum, the $90,000, was coming from the fund balance. Mr. Miner shared with us that the Maryland Heritage Area Authority provided us with a grant for $90,000. So,
Oh, so we're not having to pay for this, a grant is paying for this?
yes.
Okay, so the project is still moving forward?
Exactly.
It's just someone
different
else's
funding
taxpayers are
source.
covering it?
Yes.
Oh, that's great news. Mr.
love
Miner,
that.
you don't have to get back up, but thank you. That's our planning director, everyone. You just saved us $90,000 for a new park. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Ready for a motion?
I will open the floor.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Ordinance 0424.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion?
Just a clarification.
Councilman Brady?
We are moving to approve the budget. I get a yes and a no.
No, we're
So that's what,
Mr. Mayor,
clarification on what's needed for tonight,
we're
that's all.
just setting the tax rate tonight.
Oh, tax, okay,
yes,
okay, just the tax.
yeah. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, please respond with an aye. Aye. Please use your, if you can. All opposed, same favor. Looking at the votes cast, the motion carries. Thank you. We'll now move on to new business, which is the amendment to the Prince George's Water and Sewer Plan. And I will turn that over to city staff.
Thank you, Mayor. Good
There you go.
evening, members of the council. I'm Joe Meinert, the city planning director, here to introduce this item. This is an amendment to the Prince George's County Water and Sewer Plan, and it's a recommendation of city council. The request is to change the category from category W5S5 to W4S4 in the county's water and sewer plan. This property is located, it's an existing church located at 5506 Church Road across from the Westview subdivision. And the proposal is to build a new 44,000 square foot church facility on the property in a redevelopment. The site is 12 acres and is zoned RR. In terms of the review of our staff review of this request, initially we sent out 395 letters of public notice to the surrounding community, posted 3 hearings, signs advertising tonight's hearing. The county council's public hearing is scheduled for tomorrow at 10 a.m. at the Wayne K. Curry Administration Building in Largo. The request is for redevelopment of a existing church site. The existing church does have access to water and sewer facilities currently. The criteria for approval of it to advance from Category 5 to Category 4 is simply that the project has an adequate description and that it complies with zoning requirements. And zoning the RR zone does permit churches as a permitted use. So therefore, because the request complies with those criteria, staff recommends approval of the advancement of the property from Category W5 S5 to W4 S4. And that would conclude the staff presentation. We have Mr. Majette Parker, who is the attorney representing the church, and some church members here this evening. They want to make a brief presentation to council.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Majette Parker. I'm an attorney with offices in Camp Spring, Maryland. Been practicing zoning and land use for over 30 years, 35 years, in Prince George's County. It's a pleasure to be here in front of the Bowie City Council, specifically for this particular item on the agenda. This is a water and sewer category change, as you've heard from your staff, and I appreciate the recommendation of staff and the thorough review they've given to it. So we have just a few slides to be able to present to you know a little bit more about this. Okay, about this, because this has been before you before in 2009. And at that time, the city decided not to support the recommendation because they didn't know about the concept, what was going on. It was also for a much larger building than what's being proposed here. We have new leadership in the church, Mountain of Fire and Miracles Ministries. And in fact, in the audience, we have a number of members here. If they could all just stand up at one time, please. Our members, these are some of the members that live here. Over 50 members live within Bowie. So these are some of the members that have come here and now observing how city government works, which is fantastic. I'm so pleased about that. But we're also so pleased to be able to present this to you. The existing conditions of the site, you've heard from the staff already, it's 12 acres. As you can see on the slide projecting there, it's zoned for church by right. There's actually an existing church there with 56 parking spaces. And now what we're planning to do, this again, without the water and sewer category change, we cannot move forward, even though the existing church is already tied into existing sewer and water. So this is a necessary step in order to progress, to build what they need to efficiently handle their membership and the doctrines to host their worship services. Here's what the project overview looks like. Again, this is very conceptual at this point because without the water and sewer category, we can't move forward. And by the way, the county executive has already recommended approval of this. The planning board of Prince George's County has already recommended approval. But we're here before you tonight, though, to get your approval as well. Because this is critical. We are neighbors. While we're not within the exact limits of the city of Bowie, we're right surrounded on 3 sides by Bowie. And so it's appropriate that we seek your approval of the category change at this time. The proposed project, a little under 44,000 square foot building, 800-seat sanctuary, not 2,000 that was proposed in 2009, much reduced. Parking, you see 182 standard, 66 compact, 11 handicap, 4 van, total of 259 parking spaces, more than adequate to handle a facility of this size. And they're very much aware of the community concerns about parking in the communities surrounding it. So they have, over the past few years, since under new leadership, engaged to have law enforcement out there to help direct people into the site and out of the site flowing very well. We have on the plan, you see there, Church Road, you see the parking lot, you see the building, proposed building. Again, we don't have architecture yet because we're still in the concept stage. What you don't see on this slide, though, are things like the conceptual stormwater management plan with underground piping to handle the water as it comes in, flows off of the surface of the parking lot, but to be handled underground before it goes into the system. Unique type of bioretention plans. And the building itself, while it's not designed yet, we're looking at incorporating the top level of design possible for a facility. When I say top, I'm talking about things of energy consumption, things like being green and being helpful for the environment. And we have here with us, among the members here, we have a project manager, Balaji Ogundaru, who is very versed in that, and he's going to make sure that we move along that way. So microbioretention return, underground detention facilities, that's the general project overview. By the way, we've got top-notch firms involved in this too, Kim Engineering and Mr. Tim Troxler, who's in the front row. He is the engineer for the project. He's a landscape architect. The pastor here is Pastor Kume Apito, if he can stand up. He is also here along with the members. We've got members of the board here as well. But that's generally the project overview. Now, interestingly enough, this site, this 12-acre site, actually already has 2 WSSC sewer right-of-ways that bisect this site that have been there since the year 2000 and 1992. 1992, the one from north-south servicing all those areas in green, existing parts of Bowie. The sewer lines exist for those communities that come through this property. To the west, there's another sewer line that runs west to east, already existing on this property that adequately handles the sewer from the communities to the west. We just bring this to your attention to say that this property has already served and is continuing to serve and will continue to serve the city of Bowie efficiently. I've overlaid over top of the concept plan, our engineers did that, to show where those lines are. The two that I talked about, the one from north to south, I think it's what, a 13-inch sewer pipe? 14. Yeah, 14-inch sewer pipe there, and then an 8-inch east to west. And we're going to tie in with this new building into that. Existing buildings are already tied in there. But that's why we need the water and sewer category change. It's amazing that the sewer is there, the water's already there, but we have to go through this category change in order to make this concept move further along into the next stage, which will be the preliminary plan of subdivision. You have not had accepted yet by Park and Planning Commission, but you're very familiar with that process, a preliminary plan of subdivision. That'll be coming after we get the water and sewer category change. And then we move forward and come back. We would like to come before you again, by the way, on our preliminary plan of subdivision. We have more detail about what the building will look like, what types of facilities will be in there. We know it's going to be an 800-seat sanctuary. We're also looking at things like, what would the community really like to have there? We talked about maybe having a banquet or fellowship hall in the basement, something like that. People can gather, seniors, and the pastors are prepared to talk about some of the ministry items that Mountain of Fire Miracles Ministries can bring to Bowie. I'm very thrilled because now this ministry can interact more efficiently with this building, with the residents and citizens of Bowie and the surrounding communities. I think this is an exciting opportunity for all. And we'd like to lend our support if we could, in any way possible, to see that Church Road from where it turns into Old Church Road, and you see on the southern part of this slide, where it turns into Old Church Road going to the east and then winding past the property on our eastern boundary. What is happening with the existing, the right-of-way is there for the future widened, efficient Church Road. How can the church lend its support there too? So that's the things that we're here to talk about, and that's what we're here, and we're seeking and asking to support your staff this time in 2024, May 6, 2024, and the recommendation to go to the county council tomorrow to say the city of Bowie supports the category change for this particular application, Mountain of Fire and Miracles Ministries, the category change from W5, S5 to for S4, and we would like to come back to see you again when we get to the preliminary plan of subdivision. We also, by the way, met with the citizens November 11th of 2023. We presented these same slides, exception of this one right here. We didn't have it at the time. We heard from the citizens. They said, what's going on with Church Road? So we're looking into that too as well, to see how we can contribute and help in any way we can. With that, we do have members from the church signed up, or not signed up, would like to speak, but I know you're under time and it's late at night, and I know you have others that probably want to speak. But I'd like to come back after, if anyone from the public wants to speak, I'd like to come back afterwards and just address any issues they may have. With that, I'd like to just answer any questions.
Open to council if you have some questions at this time before we open the public hearing.
Can we come back to him after the public hearing?
Yes, we can, if that's what we choose.
If you don't mind.
Alyssa, that's correct. The councilman was asking if we could come back to him after the opening of the public hearing.
You can.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. If there's nothing at this time,
Thank you.
I would like to declare the public hearing open. Thank you so much. Okay. Deborah Coleman.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Coleman. First time here, I saw a little teeny tiny sign on Church Road back in November about the church and wasn't able to make the meeting. So I'm here tonight just to talk about some of my concerns and ask, maybe get some questions answered, because I don't know what's really going on. I received my letter last week about this hearing, so, and again, that's why I'm here. I've been lived in Westview for close to 30 years. In a month, it'll be 30 years. And welcome to church. Very quiet neighbors, except on Sunday with the traffic, of course. The thing that I'm concerned about is that the top concern is not Church Road. That church is on a blind curve. That means that you come around that curve, you cannot see. I was crossing the street a few weeks ago and someone stopped to let me go by, and they were nearly rear-ended because someone couldn't see that someone was trying to let me cross the street. So, of course, we have to, in Bowie, we want to grow. I'm excited about having a bigger church. I'm excited that they would want to engage the community because, I haven't seen like that outreach of, come visit us, or we're having a food drive, or let's hand out stuff to our neighbors. So I hope that they can grow and be a good part of Bowie. But I think that before we look at making any improvements, the first thing on the agenda is making Church Road safer for our community. I call, and if there's a tree hanging over Church Road, I make calls, and I actually got a tree branch cut because I went to a state senator in Annapolis saying there's something wrong with, there's a branch and someone's going to get killed. There is a pothole right now right in front of the church. It's been there for a few weeks, and it's getting bigger and bigger. So obviously, Church Road needs our attention. To put a bigger facility, police on Sunday is not going to be enough. You have a banquet hall, you have maybe a recreation center. That's going to be every day of the week. Not all the time, but it'll be enough that we need just more attention to what's going on at Church Road. So I hope that any project plan that you develop for these improvements on the top is how are we going to improve Church Road? How are we going to make it safe for our community? And the other thing is there's a street, like you can say there's another way you can go out. Like either you can go to Church Road to get to the church, or you can go through Lake Meadows Drive, which is a street that's like, I guess it's off 450. It's like a two-way, it's a two-way street, but it's only one lane. So that's another issue with traffic. So that's something that wasn't even talked about, that because of the traffic of the church, there is just a lot of traffic. And that has just kind of grown lately. So I hope that I know that, I don't even know who owns Church Road, who's responsible for it, but since after the pandemic, since 2020, it's become a highway. I mean, anyone, you want to drive it at 5 o'clock, come through Church Road at 5 o'clock. It's just, it's not safe anymore. And I thank you very much for listening, and thank you.
Thank you. This time, Naomi Carrington Hockman.
Good evening, council members.
Good evening.
I'm a 12-year resident of Dixon Crossing, and this site we are the neighbors to this site. We object to this facility for the following reasons. Number one is road safety. We recently, last year, had a child die just at the end of that road in the Fairwood area. That is a very dangerous, and as the other lady said, it's a winding, bending road with blind corners. We do not see any addressing the road and the traffic. We have not seen any considerations for that. The other reason, increase road traffic from banquet facilities. Again, if you went to that area, I'm not sure how you're going to get the construction equipment in that area. You'll be shutting down Church Road for the foreseeable future. And 259 parking spaces and a loading dock is an indication of severe increased traffic. We anticipate increased crime because at the November 11th meeting, they discussed putting in a food pantry. So we already have an existing crime issue with cars being stolen and houses being broken into. Who are we bringing into this residential area? We expect increased noise, not only from the cars and all the events, but also from their having a daycare facility. But one of our huge problems is the environmental concerns. I've been on the HOA board to try to get the city or county to take over the pond that is situated to the north of that facility. Our pond, which already has significant drainage and a spillway pipe that needs to be addressed, so that has issues, and we've been trying to get onto your budget so that you guys can take over that pond, feeds into the water situation or the water shed that they're trying to adopt. If you don't address the upstream water problems, you're going to be creating and causing further downstream problems. It is significant that we address the Dixon Crossing Pond before you even look and cater to their proposal. Also, we anticipate decreased property values. The November 11th meeting, we discussed that they would do an assessment of what is having a megachurch going to do to our property values. Also, we think there are questionable boundary encroachments onto the Dixon Crossing property. This is an artist's rendition, and I do believe there are some creative artistic licenses being applied to these drawings. We do need somebody to actually look and see where are the boundaries between Dixon Crossing and the church. Also, we have zoning concerns. We would like this to remain a bedroom residential community. When you're talking about the existing church is 5,000 square feet, and you want to replace it with 44,000 square foot facility, it becomes commercial and it's no longer residential. We asked for an environmental impact assessment. We have not seen one. We asked for traffic studies. We have not seen one. And we asked for the assessment and impact on property values. We have not seen one. Also, we asked for a needs statement or a needs study. Does the community require a mega church on that corner? So thank you for your time, and I request that you guys take a look at these studies and the impact on the neighborhood before you approve this facility. Thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you. That's all the speakers, so at this time I would declare the public hearing closed. Now, Councilman,
Were you, Mr. Mayor, were you going to return to the applicant's counsel?
Yes.
Before you close the hearing?
I couldn't hear.
Before you close the hearing?
Before I close it?
Yeah. Just withdraw the closure, let him speak.
The applicant's comments, come on, yes.
Thank you very much for allowing me to come back to address a few of those comments. Under the existing conditions, we have done a boundary survey. That's the drawing to the left. That's done by a surveying company, Kim Engineering, as well as others, and we will continue to look at the boundary. We'll actually go out there and stake the boundary before we do any actual work out there, and maybe even do it prior to the preliminary plan of subdivision. Go out there and put the stakes in the ground. Run. You've seen those stakes before where you put flags on them and you mark the boundary. So we're aware of that, and we have engineers that can do that. Road safety issues and traffic studies, yes, those come up in the preliminary plan of subdivision stage. Okay, and we will, as required under PPS, preliminary plan of subdivision, we do have to prepare and file and get accepted a traffic study that addresses the traffic impact of the proposed new church. But that's in a later stage, not in the water and sewer category change. The water and sewer category changes is to say, yes, we do service, do we have the water sewer lines already there that are adequate to handle this proposal, okay? But the traffic study, she mentioned the environmental impact issues, particularly the pond to the north. You see that's on the aerial photograph, the pond to the north, the west. We're aware of that, but again, that's off our property. We can perhaps give you suggestions to help, because we're looking at the same thing on this site. How do we best handle stormwater runoff? That's an issue that we all face, stormwater runoff, and how to best handle that. The need study for the community, we have not engaged that yet. It's on our radar to try to do that. In fact, I've searched around for a couple of companies that could do needs assessments in the community. That's being part of a good neighbor. There is a company I found in Anne Arundel County headed by Bishop Craig Coates, but I don't have a proposal from him yet. He actually goes out and sends surveys out to the community and asks them what they really need and don't need. We did talk about at the November 11th meeting with the community outreach meeting, pre-application meeting. We did talk about potentially a food pantry, but that came back very much saying, no, we do not want that in our community, a food pantry. Okay, so we're listening, and we want to be good neighbors, and being here tonight is an indication we want to hear from the community, and we're very open-minded to that. That one community outreach meeting we had November 11th, Veterans Day, there will be more coming as we get prepared to get our preliminary plan of subdivision moving. So we do plan to reach out to the community again and repeatedly throughout this process, not only the land use process, but the construction process as well. I heard the comments about the roadway, about Church Road, potholes, et cetera. We will look into that. Many eyes help everyone uplift the community. So having the community's involvement and telling us, and we too looking at these issues. We talked about the curved road. That's a historic road, and it would really help if we get Church Road extended to the west. That would really help everyone. But can we hold up progress here for that? No, I would recommend no. Please do not do that. Let us work together. Our timeline for even construction is still a year or two away. So we still have many more opportunities to come and interface with you and the community. So we just ask that when we listen to all of these comments specifically about road safety, we will have a traffic study. It's in the process of being done now. We will share that. It's required of the preliminary plan of subdivision. The types of uses we have here, the hours of operation, we don't have hours of operation yet for the things I talked about. There is no daycare. Daycare, by the way, is required. To get a daycare, you have to do what's called a special exception. And that's not in our thoughts at all right now, to go through another approval process to do a daycare, a special exception. We want to get this facility built now, so that way the members of this church have an adequate place to worship and have parking on their site to handle that. Currently, it's not sufficient parking. Okay? And this water and sewer category is just one step towards that. We still have the preliminary plan of subdivision. I keep saying that, I'm sorry. Decreased property values was mentioned. And the word mega church, this is not a mega church. Those of us that have lived and worked in Prince George's County for years know what a mega church is. Okay? 2,000, 4,000, 8,000, 10,000. 800 seats is not a mega church. I've represented churches since 1989 in Prince George's County, the first one being Ebenezer AME Church on Allentown Road. That's a mega church. Okay, this one is not. This is 800 seats. So I just, again, ask for your kind consideration tonight. Move forward with a recommendation to the county council favorable for this water and sewer category change only. And we will be back before you, again, for the preliminary plan of subdivision. There's also another thing called the detailed site plan, which I did not mention. We have to come back and get that approved as well. We'll be here for that as well. And then we go through permitting. So we've got a lot of roads ahead of us still to go. These are all concepts right now. And again, I think the key thing to help us all would be to look at Church Road Extended as we move together, forward together. Thank you again for your consideration. Thanks you, members of the community that have spoken tonight and those that have not spoken. We hear you. And we ask that you come and interface with the church members. You see many of them in the back here. Many of them live in this community. So we're accessible. And there's a website, there's a telephone number on the website. Call. Thank you again very much for your kind consideration. Let me come back and close. We look forward to your action tonight. Thank you.
At this time, I will declare the public hearing closed.
Mr. Mayor, are there any more questions you might have for the council discussion, or?
Yes, it's the time, but I was looking to see, I have a few questions, but I will open it up to council first for any questions you have. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple quick questions I'd like to turn to staff for. Mr. Minor, I am unaware of any progress, any plans, any funding for the expansion or the replacement or the completion, I should say, of the new Church Road. Are you aware or familiar with anything that might be going on in the county with that?
Councilmember Wolfley, there is no funding in the county CIP project for this section of Church Road. The county has a CIP project, but it's focused on the segment between Mount Oak Road and Maryland 214. So there really isn't any planning or any funding for the segment just to the west of this site.
And I believe that oftentimes they're looking for developers. They may come in to make that final upgrade. I don't think there's anything in that area that's currently under consideration for development, is there?
That's correct. All of the developers that have developed their sites have provided right-of-way and constructed portions of the road all the way up to Annapolis Road.
Okay, thank you. Can you pull out from the notes when when the city considered this before, it came before and there was a recommendation. Can you read out what that recommendation was? Just a summary of it.
Yes, sir. There was a letter sent to the county council back in May of 2009, and the city council stated in that letter that they were concerned about the impacts of the proposed development on the surrounding community, especially with regard to traffic. Cars parking and stopping on Church Road and within the adjacent subdivisions have created a hazard for drivers as well as pedestrians, and that at that time the expansion of the church was proposed to include up to 2,000 members, which would further exacerbate that traffic situation. So the council voted against the water and sewer amendment back in 2009.
Thank you very much. So I'll lead in with my comments, or let that be the lead into my comments, is unfortunately, I don't think much has changed since that time frame. This is certainly a smaller proposal, and it's not as significant an impact on the community in terms of number of seats. But I am quite concerned about the risks that it presents for the same reasons that the council had spoken before, which is specifically about the safety and the traffic on that road there. And I would very much be appreciative if the county had any plans in line for the completion of the main or the new Church Road, but it's apparent that it's not only not funded, but it's not even on the CIP, which tells me that the chances of seeing that are somewhere between slim and none anytime soon. And unfortunately, there's no developers that are going to come in and fill that out. And I certainly would not expect the church to do that either. That is well beyond the reasonable expectation. That is not the burden that anybody should be facing. But I am very concerned about that. One of the speakers earlier mentioned that there was a loss of life. That was on a separate section of the road further up. But nonetheless, it does speak to the traffic volume that's on that road. And I travel it on a regular basis, and it's 2 lanes. It's a fun little curvy drive until there's somebody else on the road with you. And unfortunately, I'm concerned whether it's a gym, food pantry, these other services that will come to the community as part of this church, the necessary community outreach and so forth. It's going to generate traffic, and I'm afraid that there's presently a police officer that comes and I commend the church community for having an officer there, certainly much needed, but you can't have an officer there all the time and all days when you have whether it's coming and going for pantry or gym or Bible study or whatever it might be. I'm quite concerned about that. And unfortunately, I don't see anything that's changed over the course of time, which is unfortunate because I'm sympathetic to your plight and your desire to move forward with the ministries that you'd like to do, which I think are great, commendable, and would be very beneficial to the community. But I do think it's at too big a risk on the traffic side. So that's my thoughts at the moment. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions by council members?
Yes, I'll go.
Councilmember Steve, and then I'll come to you, Councilmember.
Sorry, I just want to hop in real quick, especially since we have a lot of church members here, and I appreciate the presentation from Mr. Parker, and I know we have some folks from the community as well. A lot of the concerns that you're hearing tonight about traffic are not really a new theme for this section of road. A resident earlier alluded to an ice arena project that was canceled. One of the reasons why so many residents in that community opposed the ice arena wasn't because they particularly hate skaters. It was because they were concerned about new traffic coming to a single lane road. A resident who spoke, I think, alluded to a fatality there that was unfortunately on one of the 2-lane roads where there was a pedestrian crossing. We've had other projects there at Freeway Airport. There was a similar project where residents in a lot of those neighborhoods kind of came out of the woodwork and mobilized to negotiate down a significant project there. And so I don't want you to feel like you're being singled out in any way. Church Road has been the source of a lot of complaints for a while now from residents all along the stretch about new projects of all different types. And so I think that's why you're kind of hearing a lot of concerns tonight. And just for me personally, it's also something that's weighing on my mind, not representing that area. I've been hearing nothing from residents in that corridor for a long time about traffic concerns and the impact of new projects. So just for your awareness.
Thank you, Councilman Brady.
Thank you, Mayor Adams. A couple of questions. I'd like to start with Mr. Parker. A few specific questions I have, so if you could come up to this. Could you answer the following three for the existing conditions? What's the current square footage of what is there? Because they are actually using the structure there as their church, correct?
Correct.
So what's the existing square footage?
The existing square footage of the building?
Approximately, that has to be exact.
Well, a little under 6,000, about 5,000 and a little bit more.
And how much parking do you have there now?
On our slide, I think it was 50.
Existing?
We've presented that. The existing parking now is, here we go, 56 spaces.
56. And how many members of the church are there today?
Pastor Kunle, could you come forward, please? And regarding traffic, while he's coming forward, we do have a traffic engineer. His name is on there, Linhart Traffic Consultants.
Right.
Okay. They have looked at it. They are studying the intersections to the north, and they're working with Park and Planning Commission to deal with the issues of traffic.
Right.
They've done some counts already, but we're talking about primarily the day of worship. Sunday is the time that the traffic would be.
Right.
Okay, but as far as, now this is Pastor Kunle, would say how many members do you currently have? For the record, who you are.
I'm Pastor Kunle Ladipo, the senior pastor of Mountain of Fire Miracle Ministries.
Please speak over here to the
I'm Pastor Kunle Ladipo, the senior pastor of Mountain of Fire Miracle Ministries, Bowie, Maryland. Presently, we have about 400 members, 400. And we do 2 services every Sunday. This is one of the reasons why we want to upgrade the facility so that we can be having only one service. And that should, reduce the pressure on the road and also on the community. So we'll really be very, very happy tonight if we can approve this water change and the sewage change. Thank you very much.
Okay. And under this proposal, if it moves forward, what's the anticipated membership numbers?
Come again.
Previously, the number was 2,000.
Right. Initially, it was 2,000, but now
Yeah.
with this approval, when you do move forward with the actual building, what do you anticipate the congregation member to be?
Approximately.
Yeah, about 800.
So essentially the size of the sanctuary.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But with one service as opposed to
Yeah.
two.
And there will be no pantry for the community. What we organize is just a food drive for our members who are in the church. So I don't see where we are going to have maybe increase in crime rates in the community. We are a church, and our impact should be beneficial, not to bring problems. And that's what we do. We've been on this facility for more than 22 years now, and we have been doing very well, and we've not had any complaint from the community, apart from some of our members who parked, on the streets. And they told us the last time, and because of that, we had to, tell all the members to make sure that we manage our parking spaces adequately. So from that meeting, nobody has complained that we've been parking on their streets again. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and also I have the project manager here who's going to address one of the issues that was raised regarding traffic. Go ahead. For the record, who you are.
Good evening, member of Bowie City Council and the city staff. For the record, my name is Bolaji Ogunderu. I represent MFM Mountain of Fire Miracle Ministries as a project manager. One of the concerns that I raised is concerning traffic, which is very important, and we take it very serious. And when I review, when I reviews the report we got from 2009, and I find out that there's no traffic studies conducted, and we engaged a traffic engineer right now who is a traffic consultant. His name is Mike Lennart, and he has done the volume count, he has done traffic study. He's presently putting his report together right now. So we have asked him to come up with different mitigation options to mitigate against traffic issue on that road. And the other item that were raised is about, environmental assessment. How does it impact the community? We have engaged a company to come up with ESA Phase 1 to assess the property. And they have conducted ESA Phase 1. We are presently now looking at conducting ESA Phase 2. In addition to that, we have engaged a consultant because we are looking into an environmental friendly building. So we have engaged a consultant to make sure that we are coming up with a LEED certified building, which is going to be environmental friendly. And I think it has put all the requirements that we needed in place. We are presently having meetings with all our professionals as we speak. And so we have all issues that were raised, addressed, even though the project itself, if we go by the timeline, the construction don't start till Q2 of 2025. But we are putting all this plan in place at the moment, at the concept. This is just concept. We have not done the real detailed design drawing and all of that. But we are like 10 steps ahead, even before permitting. So I will, I will say if you can, look into this matter and give this a chance, we will make sure we come up with all options to mitigate against all problems. And, if you look at it in another way, in 2009, they are looking at 2,000 seating capacity. Based on my assessment, we have reduced the 2,000 to 800 to make sure that we reduce the impact of traffic to the environment and accommodating 2-3 service to be only one service. So all this plan is already in place. I was sitting, I believe, Mijet has every point to take care of this, but when we need to speak up, I think I need to step forward and address what our plans are. Because sometimes if you don't speak, people don't know what we have planned. And this, we have all documents to all of this. We are the ESA Phase 1 is documented. We hired a company to do that. The LEED certification, the process is documented. The traffic studies, we have all plans, and the report is documented. If you need copies of this, we can provide them. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Mr. Parker. What is, and maybe the pastor would be better, what is a typical schedule throughout the week? Mainly people would be arriving and departing on a Sunday for services. I heard someone commenting about a daycare. So could they give a description of kind of what a week would look like?
Okay.
Very briefly, if we could.
Pastor.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Pastor, right beside me. Okay, you can talk about what the schedule looks like. Okay.
Presently, we hold only Sunday service on that, in that location. and we have two services. First one starts by 8 a.m., ends by 10:30 a.m. The second one starts immediately and ends by 12:30. So if we are able to proceed with the plan, we should be having only one service that will start by 8 a.m. and finish by 10:30 every Sunday.
Okay, thank you.
And as far as weekdays?
Weekdays, we don't, except on Thursday morning around 11 a.m. We have a prayer meeting just for about 1.5 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the last question I have of the applicant, because I have some for staff. You own property on both sides of Church Road, correct?
Correct. Let me show you where that is. There we go. So you see outlined in the dotted line on the east side of Church Road, there's 5503 Church Road. And that building there is owned by the church.
That spot right there?
Yes, that's the one. I'm sorry, is there a lease on this?
No, I have my own. I come prepared. So you have on both sides of Church Road at that point?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of questions of staff on this. Mr. Minor, with regard to Church Road, especially, I know that as you go south past their property, there's a sharp curve to the right, and there's typically, for me, I slow down a lot because the line of sight is very, very tricky at times. My question is, if they do move forward and they go through county approval and what have you, would there be an expectation that since they own property on both sides, that issue could be addressed by the applicant by making some modifications to Church Road in that area, thereby improving it?
Councilman Brady, the property is only located on one side of Church Road, as I understand it. It's a county roadway, so that the county would have to undertake a review to see whether any safety improvements could be made to that section of the road. So I think it's really, the subdivision process would allow the county to decide whether they need additional widening of the pavement, and if so, the dedication would be required on the west side of Church Road to provide for a wider roadway, to provide for accel, decel lanes or turn lanes, and that would all be made conditions of the subdivision process. That's why we have the subdivision process. So to get this project to the next stage would allow for that examination to take place and to assess what those needs are and whether the site could provide those additional improvements.
Right, but there's a reasonable expectation that in that process with the county review and approval, that some improvements to Church Road and along their frontage would be required in order to address some of the safety issues, correct?
Yes, that would be a function of the subdivision review. Those requirements would be determined at that time.
Okay, and I'm not as pessimistic as my colleague. I think if you pull the right group of people and you come up with an excellent lobbying plan, that I think we could get that missing mile or mile and a half of Church Road to be completed. And actually, if that occurs, then probably nearly all of the traffic issues go away, because there'd be a lot less traffic on what is now being called Old Church Road versus what is there right now. One last comment, and I meant to lead off with this, but the attorney for the applicant, Mr. Parker, and I and Councilwoman Wanda Rogers, I got ready to say just Wanda. We had a very nice, very pleasant Zoom call Saturday morning, and I meant to print out and bring copies for my colleagues tonight. I did file an ex parte this morning that gave basically near point-by-point repetition of what the applicant's attorney had said during his presentation, so I wanted to make it a public during this hearing that we did have a conversation on Saturday. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming out. So I have to say, I live, as they used to say, on that side of town as well. It's probably not a day that goes by that I don't go around that curve. Just the continuation to Councilman Brady's story, my concern is that if you have a membership of 400 people and the church is so close to the road, and then you have the property right across the street that's close to the road, there's no real, sidewalk area there. My real concern is I come, like speed racer around that bend on Sundays, is that someone in your church is going to get hurt. That's my concern. So when I look at the design layout, it looks like it pushes the sanctuary back from the street. So it's pushed further back. So to me, that's a number one safety feature as I go around that curve. It's not there. And Councilman Brady talked to the effect of you have a property on one side of Church Road and on the other side of Church Road. And sometimes you cross the street there to get to that other side. If your sanctuary is set up so that it's pushed back, that some modifications can be made to that strip of Church Road, because we all drive through there, and it is dangerous and it's scary. And what scares me is that somebody's going to get hit that's sitting in this room here with cars going around that bend. And I understand the community's concern around safety for the individuals, but also I appreciate having a church in the community. I appreciate that. So I think that if we were to kind of follow or track with what Councilman Brady was saying, if some modifications can be made to the street, which would help us all that live in that community, putting sidewalks in there or broadening the street out, that would make a difference, because I feel the same way everyone else feels that lives in the community. It's scary. I mean, it's just too narrow, it's scary, and something has to be done. So just looking at this, I do believe it at least gives you a clearer line of sight, pushes things back so that you don't have not only that closeness to Church Road, but individuals are not parking in your driveways and on your streets so that you can't get in and out of your communities. That's a huge deal. So thank you, Councilman Brady, for sharing that. And hopefully the county and the developers, you all, can do something with that street, because no matter what, it's going to be a risk, not only to the community that lives there, but to the people that serve in your congregation. So thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Mr. Mayor. Mr. Truesdale. Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know it's getting late, and I just wanted to chime in. I'm a son of a preacher, so I grew up in the church, and 4 days a week and some Saturdays, weekends, and just looking at, in terms of the community engagement piece, how long has the church been in this area?
We've been there for 22 years.
22 years. And in 2009, you 2000, you proposed for 2,000 and now 800. What made the significant change?
The former pastor was a little bit optimistic. We are all optimists, and we are just being realistic now because of the present number of people we have. We have to break them into 2 services to accommodate them. So with 800-seater church, we should be able to, handle the growth for the next few years, and it should be able to serve us very well.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Even with, so right now you acquire 5,000 square feet, and You're looking at 44,000 square feet to build out. That's pretty aggressive in terms of, 800. It's quite a lot of people. My thing is, it's the traffic. Is it fitting that infrastructure on, in that area, on that road? I think that really has to be engaged. I asked you how long the church has been there because I just wanted to kind of get a view on the engagement, the community. How much are you in the community? How much the community know you in terms of you being, not you, but the church being able to, be a part of, of growth. I do echo my colleague Brady, Councilman Brady, in terms of I think the county should look into the missing mile, the Church Road, make some moves in that area. But yeah, I have residents in that area that are highly, doubtful that the engagement is going to be a strong factor to this process. So I just want to leave my comments.
And if I may add just a little bit of clarification. Presently, we use the two sides of the road. We have a smaller building at the other side. That's where we have our youth church. So Councillor Wanda made an observation concerning how dangerous that road could be for those who actually, use the other side. So because of that, we have to we have some cops that are always there every Sunday to make sure that they stop traffic for people to pass. But this is exactly the reason why we need this building, so that everybody will be under the same roof. So that we can all be together under the same roof. And we are planning to open that place up, with the suggestion of the community, because the last time we had the neighborhood meeting, they were talking about the church having a community park for them. We are open to that, to that suggestion. We can use that place for that.
So does the church have annual conventions?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are going to have one in August.
And what does that look like in terms of capacity?
No, we don't do the convention in that location. We have international headquarters in Houston, Texas.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And again, traffic calming devices can be used and be instituted because we have both sides of that road. Things are different now than 2009. In 2009, you did not have a concept. You just had an idea of a 2,000-seat sanctuary. You had a different leadership that saw things a different way. This is a new leadership that is engaging with the community. This is just one step among many that a lot of people don't understand. In the land use activities, this is one small step. There are still many other steps. Preliminary plan of subdivision. We'll be back with a traffic study to be reviewed. Detailed site plan. We'll have the details of what the building will look like. But in order to encourage and keep moving forward, we need this water and sewer category change so we can come back on the preliminary plan of subdivision. We will address the traffic concerns. We have a first-class traffic consultant already signed up, engaged, and working on a study to address the issues that you've raised, okay? And we'll present those when that study is complete. So please let us move forward with a water and sewer category recommendation consistent with that of the county executive and the park and planning staff. That's what we ask of you. Thank you.
Well, let me chime in at this point. And Mr. Minor, I'm going to probably hit you with a few questions kind of directly for your response. First and foremost, thank you to all who have come this evening, and thank you to all of you. We appreciate that. And again, as we've heard, there are differing views on where we go right now. But my question to you is, Mr. Minor, going back, there was issues about flooding and other things. Have those issues been addressed? Because someone was telling me that was one of the issues was a problem back then. Is that not the case?
Mayor, I'm not familiar with that situation on this property. By getting the property into the subdivision review, there will be additional studies required, such as a floodplain study and a natural resources inventory. So those are all things that would need to be done as part of a subdivision plan. So we may not know enough at this point to make any conclusions.
Okay. And the reason I asked that too goes into a couple of quick things. As you know, we as a city have been fighting for land use rights. Mr. Minor, the reality is regardless of what we do here, the county council has the final say, correct?
That's correct. On the water and sewer amendments, it's up to the county council to make the final decision.
So regardless of what we decide, by not having the land use authority, it's going to be up to the county council. Okay.
Correct.
Would you, in the past, we've recommended things, Mr. Minor, that said we would do things on a conditional approval with the condition of. Is that correct?
That's correct. However, with the water and sewer amendment, there are typically no conditions attached to these types of project review.
And that's a typical, correct? What I'm hearing from most of my colleagues altogether is that there's a concern about safety. That's the argument I hear more than anything else, is that we're concerned about the safety of the residents and others all in that area. And I think we can understand that. Considering we don't have final land use authority, and with your understanding, I would like, though, that we consider, Mr. Minor, that we put it in with the condition that the county do improvements to Church Road. Is that possible for us to do if we choose to?
That would be a separate recommendation, something that you would ask the county council to do in their budget process. Again, you have the transportation priority list that you write every year. You write a letter to the county asking for specific improvements. So it could be something you mention in this letter and mention in other letters in the future.
Are you saying that we cannot put in that letter that we would give conditional approval based upon the improvements to Church Road, even with the water sewer?
Well, the council can write whatever it wants to write in the letter. As you pointed out, Mayor, it's an advisory opinion from the city council.
I just wanted
yes,
to
sir.
make sure that we got across. And again, that would address the issues that many of our constituents have about safety and also about seeing what we can do about that. So at this point, I will turn back now to Councilman. Did you have another question? I addressed it? Okay. All right, Councilman Esteve, were you going to ask another question?
I just had a real quick question for Mr. Parker, the pastor, if you happen to know. A resident just texted in out of curiosity, what roughly, do you know how many of your members are Bowie residents? I know you made a reference earlier to the fact the number of them were members of the community. Did you have a rough idea?
Yes.
They were purely curious. This is on information.
We have a list of members I'll put in the record, okay, with their addresses. Okay, I'll put that in the record. I wasn't planning to do that, but I do have a list. I asked the church to go through and make a list of all their members that are in the area living in the community, and we have this list.
And I'm so sorry, Mr. Parker, if you do choose to include your membership roll on the list, I would recommend that you not include their house number.
Right.
But just, even just street name would suffice, or just city or zip code, in fact. City and zip code would be just fine.
Thank you so much for that, because you're right, that is confidential. People may not want their homes being.
We have 200 churches in Bowie, and I'm not aware of any of them that are publicizing their information, so that's quite all right. City and zip will.
Okay, well, right now on the list, there's 54 other members that live in the community.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Okay.
As we go around again, any other questions?
No questions.
Questions? Anyone? Okay. Thank you. At this time, we can entertain a motion if so desired by the council.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
It's in district.
I'd like to move to recommend against approval, citing the same reasons previously noted in the earlier request in 2009.
It's been moved. Is there a second? No second.
Motion dies.
Motion dies. I will still entertain a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, anytime there's a development proposal, there are winners and losers, and sometimes there are perceived winners and perceived losers. In looking at this, and I was actually in the council in 2009 when we recommended against it. But my 22 years up here, what I have seen over the years is that some of these concerns that you have, especially the safety in the immediate vicinity of the church, will be addressed if they do the improvement, because they're not going to be able to build on their property and just leave Church Road in front of their property the same way it is today, with potholes and poor curbs and what have you. So that as part of the process moving forward, there is an opportunity to address in the immediate vicinity some of those safety concerns, the line of sight and the like. But that won't be done if they don't move forward, and they can't move forward if they don't get approval to change from water and sewer 5 to water and sewer 4.
Under discussion, we're just making a motion.
I understand. This is all in support of my motion, too.
Okay.
So I want to move approval of their application so we can get the process started to address the issue. So there's my motion.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
A second.
It's been moved and properly second. Discussion? I would like to ask if we could make a friendly amendment to your motion, that we include in there that the city council knows that, at least the county council, that we request that they make improvements to Church Road if they move forward with approving this.
Just for clarification, you're talking the missing link Church Road or Church Road in front of their property?
The Church Road, the missing link, and
missing-
in front of
that's
their
it.
property. Yes.
Right. Okay, sure. I have no problems with that, including language that.
Clarification again, please. Clarification on Church Road. I
Yes.
didn't get
Yeah.
what, I didn't get it. I didn't understand what
Oh.
you were saying. Thank you.
My question was he talking about essentially what's now called Old Church Road in front of their property, or the missing link that goes from the sharp curve just north of Woodmore up to new 450? And you're talking about that missing link, correct, Mr. Mayor?
I'm talking about whatever addresses directly in front of them where they're trying to build.
Oh, you're
in the
talking about,
sanctuary.
okay,
Yeah.
not the other. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm perfectly satisfied with that, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Can you clarify whether that amendment is to request a condition that the county make improvements or that the church make improvements?
I'm saying the county. I'm glad you
What about just
clarified that.
that the improvements need to be made as part of this process? Leave it up to the county or the applicant to do the improvements?
I just say put it on the county to show that we know that we're addressing the issue of the safety.
Right.
And that we're saying that it's based upon, it's a county road. So we need to say, and I would like to make sure that the county knows that I know from my position that if we're going to approve something.
Right.
Because we know that, I mean, I go back to the fallback position, just so everybody understands again, that the county is going to do what they want. And what I'd rather do is put in something that has a stipulation of saying what we would like to see. Otherwise, we can just vote.
Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off, Mr. Mayor. I totally agree with you. I'm just wanting to be careful that we don't put the onus on the county to pay and do the improvement, but rather the improvement needs to be done through this whole process. Whether the applicant's the one that takes care of the improvements or whether the county does. I'm just saying, yes, I agree with you on the need for it, and we need to relay that, but I don't want to tie our hands on who pays for it, if you understand what I'm talking about.
City Attorney, what would you help us with that dilemma slightly?
I would, but I'm not clear on what Councilman Brady is proposing at this point.
I can barely hear you.
I'm sorry, I'm not clear on what Councilman Brady's proposal is.
To me, the comment should be, the condition should be that the improvements are made as part of this process, or this project moving forward. I just don't want to say that the county has to pay for it.
Okay.
So if you understand, it needs to be done as part of the process. And if the county, in the review of their application says, you need to do these safety improvements to address the safety in front of their property and pay for it, then I just don't want to have our position be that the county has to pay for and do those improvements. That's all.
So I mean, the mayor is fundamentally correct that you're making a recommendation, and so you can, I suppose, attach whatever conditions or recommendations that you deem appropriate. However, I will tell you that the case law is such that the church could not be compelled to pay for the full cost of any improvements that are going to benefit the public generally. An assessment would need to be made of the share, the church's fair share of the cost of those improvements relative to the benefit to the church itself, as opposed to the neighboring communities and the public at large. So I think that you can make the statement that you want to make. I think I hear what you're saying about making that statement, but the county could not put the burden of those improvements on the church.
So you're...
Friendly amendments accepted.
Okay.
Okay, I second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. Any further discussion? Councilwoman Rogers?
One thing I don't want to lose is that the city would include on its transportation priority list this issue as well, the church road.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor, please respond with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same favor. Nay. Motion carries. All right. Well, thank you so very much. I will entertain a motion at this time.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn, sir.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor, please respond with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening. Appreciate all of you. And please, drive safe and have a good evening. Here you go, man. I'm about to put them on my back.